Hey folks, it is another episode of Short and Sweet, the food cast that celebrates all drinking food in and around Cape Ann. I'm joined once again by my co-host, Heather Atwood. How are you, Heather?
I'm good, Kory. Nice
Buona
to see you.
Fiesta?
Yeah, Buona Fiesta, exactly. Viva!
Viva, yeah. We have a very special guest for this Short and Sweet. We want to welcome Angela Sanfilippo from the Gloucester Fishermen's Wives Association.
Thank you.
How are you? Thanks for doing this.
Oh, you're welcome. This is great. You know, these are glorious day for Gloucester.
And it really is. Yeah, special time.
And hope the sun shines.
I know.
It just came out.
Yeah, I
It
know.
did. It just
I did.
came out.
You know, last night we had the mass for St. Peter at the Legion, and then they bring the statue back to go to, and was supposed to pour. And we were all upset. And they was like, we're not going to take St. Peter out because if it rains, the statue will get damaged. The rain all off until St. Peter was in that window. And then it started raining again. We were like,
St.
you
Peter.
really wanted this to happen. You know, 'cause
and I'm
there
sorry
was
I missed the novena, the mass.
Yeah, that's okay. You know, we pray for everybody.
Thank
we
you.
know that family have all kinds of things going on in their lives.
So we were talking just before we went on live, is that you're going crazy cooking right now.
Yes.
So what are you cooking?
I just made 10 pounds of redfish soup.
Oh,
The Gloucester House is going to serve it tomorrow night if they have a reception with the St. Peter Fiesta committee and invite a guest. And I'm not going to be in Gloucester tomorrow morning, so I said I can only do it the day before, which is fine.
So let's start with redfish soup.
Yeah.
Because you are president of the Gloucester Fishermen's Wives Association. This is St. Peter's Festival, the celebration of the saint who watches over the fishermen, right? And I happen to know that the city of Gloucester and the Fishermen's Wives are working with underutilized species.
Yes.
And redfish is one of them.
Yes.
So let's just talk about that a little bit. What redfish is, what the fishermen are doing out there with redfish, and how you turned it into soup,
Well,
and how we can eat some.
I mean, redfish, it's always been a real staple of Gloucester. The old people told us that redfish was the fish that fed the American servicemen during World War II. It was landed in Gloucester and processed the gordons and shipped to them. And until like late 80s, boats still could go out and catch redfish. And then something happened. The regulation said there was no more redfish, so for many years, nobody fished for redfish.
it went dormant, right.
And in the last 5 years, has come back, they've allowed them to fish for redfish. And people just didn't even know what it was. People had forgotten about it. And so it's become an underutilized species where at one time it was not. It was like the primary fish that came through the port of Gloucester. So we had to not really invent new recipes because in the fishing families, those things never go away. So the redfish soup basically was a recipe for my mother used to make all the time. And the funny thing is if we were cooking for us, we would do a whole redfish in the soup. Because people don't know what to do with the whole redfish.
How big is a redfish? Like this big?
Well, there's little ones and there's big ones.
Okay.
Big, I don't think they go bigger than like 12 inch, foot. They don't go that big.
And they're kind of a flat fish?
And they're not so flat. They do
Okay.
have a body. This is why you can get a good fillet
meat,
out of it. And so now our offshore boats, more than the inshore boats, are really bringing these in large quantities. They're everywhere. They all, Gulf of Maine, Georgia's Bank is just full of redfish. And so we've been promoting it with the city, and we have done the soup one, but we've tried other recipes, which they're great. The little fillet, fried, are great, baked with breadcrumbs, are great, done in a garlic sauce. It's really great. So there's many different ways that you can do it, but unfortunately, people just have their mindset on haddock, cod, and flounders and lobster.
I was going to ask, is it because they're thinking white in their mind?
No, it's because basically that's what they grew up with in the last 30 years. It's not 30 years before that. So when they grew up, they could not even catch redfish. They were not allowed to. So people don't have the concept. A lot of people, they think it's red snapper, and we just let it go. Okay, it's a red snapper. Well, the real name, the fancy name for redfish is ocean perch. That's what it is. It's
yeah.
ocean perch.
I've seen ocean perch in the market then.
And I tell you, and the other day when we went to Minnesota, in Minneapolis to do the Dead in the Water documentary, and they prepared it at a restaurant that we served it. It was unbelievable. They wanted only all fish, no fillet. And the way they did it was they wrapped it in banana leaf.
The redfish, the whole redfish.
The whole redfish. They wrapped it in banana leaf and they grill it. And then they put it on the platter and they served it with some kind of sauce. And people went crazy. And the redfish on the plate looks so beautiful. I have some pictures. So it's wherever you are, whatever the ethnic background of the community, like the chef who did that he's from some Latin America, one of the Latin American country of the islands, the
ones that use banana leaves.
Yeah, the one that use banana leaves.
Yeah, right.
And I said, where can we buy banana leaves in Gloucester? I haven't been able to have time to figure that out.
I think Market Basket has them sometimes, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah,
They
do.
So it's a fish that could be done in so many ways.
And it's a white fish, and it's mild.
It's a white fish. It's a very delicate fish. Right. It's not, you cannot overcook it. If you overcook it, just kill it. It's, and it's in
fish.
great abundance. It's available for people, and what we tell people always is that if you go to a restaurant, they don't serve, just ask and just say, oh, it would be nice if you were to serve some redfish.
Mm-hmm. Or the fish market.
Or the fish market, at the fish market.
Because you're supporting Gloucester Boats, right?
Exactly, yeah.
I have a question. I want to talk a little bit about Gloucester Boats, too. So here we are celebrating there will be the blessing of the fleet on Sunday,
yes.
Right? So can you tell us really quickly the history of the fleet? Like, what did it look like 50 years ago? What does it look like today? And could you tell us in a couple of sentences why?
Well, what it looked like 50 years ago was we had a large fleet,
a
couple of hundred boats.
Yeah.
Today, unfortunately, we only have 25 boats who fish for groundfish. We have lots of lobster boats, and we have the herring boats, but the groundfish boats are down to 25.
Yeah.
Only because of regulations. And we are really working very hard to keep at least those 25. Because one thing we know for sure, there's plenty of fish in the ocean that will support even more than 25 boats. But we have to abide by the rules.
And what I see, I've lived here for 25 years or something, and what I really see is that the fishing community is really a community. When those fishing boats are told by the federal government they can't go fishing, the impact on this community is huge.
It's huge.
It stops being a fishing town, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, if Gloucester stops fishing, what will it be? What would be? Our identity we are a fishing community.
Right. I mean, this is all about the fish.
It's been like this for 400 years. It's been Italian fishing community, Italian immigrant fish community for 92 years. This year is the 92nd year of the Peter Fiesta. So that's what it is.
And I'm sorry.
No,
So now the Gloucester Fishermen's Wives Association is now in its 50th year.
This year's 50 years,
right.
Yes.
And so can you just explain that for people who may not know what you're advocating for through the association?
Well, the organization was come together in 1969. Mm-hmm. A group of women, immigrants, first generation, a few, Yankees involved, mostly were like daughters and wives and mothers of Italian American fishermen. Mm-hmm. They got together because at that time, the whole world was fishing our waters. And they wanted that to be stopped. They wanted a declaration of the 200-mile limit, which became the Magnuson-Stevens Act, so that all American boats can fish within 200 miles of the coastline. It took them 7 years, but they did it. And that is really what has saved our fish stocks, because they were, as Lino Lovello used to put it, they were vacuum cleaning the Atlantic Ocean.
The foreign boats, the big foreign boats, yeah.
Big
right.
factory trawls. They were not just boats, they were factory trawls.
Yeah.
The fishermen used to say that they never saw seagulls on top of those boats because everything that was brought in was manufactured on the boat and divided, but they were covered. And so that's what the fishermen used to say. There were not even seagulls on top of those boats.
And you actually testified in Congress, right?
Yes.
On behalf of the 200-mile limit?
Not the original bill, no. It was other member of the Fisherman's Wife because I didn't become involved with the Fisherman's Wife until 1977. Okay. The law had already passed, and I was asked to go to a meeting to translate because all the fishermen, nobody spoke English at that time. So Lina Novello called me, and she said, you know, we need you to this meeting to translate. And I was like, and I said, well, I talked to my husband. She goes, that's okay. Your husband is coming to the meeting, so you can come. So that's how I became involved with the Fisherman's Wife.
And why do you stay involved?
Oh, because this is my inheritance. I come from 7th generation of fishing. And funny enough, when I was a little girl, my grandmother in her own little fishing village in Italy, she was like me. So she used to take me with her everywhere she went. And then when my grandmother died young, but my father was also involved in the community and taking care of the fishing families. So that was something that was in me, you know, and makes it just natural. And once at the meeting, I learned a lot in a very short time, but once you see the injustice that really has been going on for 42 years, it's something I just couldn't sit back and let it happen.
Right. Are you optimistic at all about the future of the fishing industry here in Gloucester? And what is it to be optimistic about?
I am, because as I told you early, we know there's plenty of fish in the ocean. Mm-hmm. The sacrifice that been made have paid off. The regulation, we only pray, and St. Peter can have a part in this, that we can enlighten the minds of the regulators and allow, you know, more fish to be caught, so we can encourage the younger generation to get involved, because it's so hard. We let our children go. We told them, go away. You don't go fishing. You don't have a future. And now we see that really we convince them to stay away. But there is a future, because this fish is out there and it's food. And if we don't go and fish it, who's going to do it? Somebody's going to do it.
Yeah.
Because then we have the Sea Conference that says that when there is a stock of fish that is not being utilized by the nation where it belongs, it should be opened up to the rest of the world. And this is really what worries me.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've spent some time with Jojo Sanfilippo, who is teaching, he and other captains here are teaching young people how to mend fishing nets and do really basic things. There's an interest there for people to get involved in the industry, but you're right. Like, I remember my family telling all of us, like, nope, go away. Like, the industry's not happening here. You got to go elsewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But like you said, there is fish out there. Like, there should be a robust industry here.
And it's such a healthy protein. Let's
It's
dwell on that for a second, right?
It's the only left natural protein in the world where you just get it and eat it. You don't have to do anything to it.
Right.
And it's a health, you know. And we're so blessed because geographically, Gloucester sits in the coastline. It sits at a perfect location where both the Gulf of Maine is in front of us. Then we have Stillwagon Bank, we have Georges Bank, we have Cashier's Ledge, all these very rich fishing grounds. They're within short, you know, navigation from our city.
It's also interesting. I mean, people think that your interests are in the fishermen, but by saving the fishermen, you're also protecting the oceans. And the Fishermen's Wives have done a lot of work advocating for that ocean,
honestly, the Fisherman's Wife have been more environmentalists than they've been anything else. And we've been true environmentalists because we really mean it. And after all the years of experience that we've had with the environmental group, I really have to say, they're fake.
Do you want to give us some examples of the work you've done?
Well, the first thing that came on board when I became part of it was oil drilling on Georges Bank. There was a couple of years of a fight that we took all the way to the Supreme Court with Conservation Law Foundation. And then we went to Congress, and in 88, they passed the moratorium, which allowed that for 10 years, nobody could do oil drilling on Georges Bank. Immediately after that, we asked to declare Stillwagon as a marine sanctuary for the protection of ground, commercial fishing and sport fishing, because sport fishing is a big business in our community too. So we had that done in 93. And then we turned basically to the New England Fishery Management Council because the fishermen were telling us that we needed to do something because they saw that the fish were not in great abundance as they were early in the 80s. It took the council 4 years to do anything. And by then, it was tough. Mm-hmm. And they came down so hard on people that's when we started to say Amendment 4, Amendment 5 to the Magnuson Act. That's when we started seeing the boats leave. Mm. And it's been a real struggle since then. We have not increased number of boats. We've just been going down, down, down. Always with the, there was Amendment 13, and then there was Amendment 16, and we fought it to the end. But by then, the environmental people really existed. They were well positioned. They were well funded, and so they would sue National Marine Fisheries, and National Marine Fisheries didn't want to be sued, and they went along with them. And this is where we are today. And right now, the thing that it's people are not aware of that much, that is just this past year, 1,400 square miles of ocean was given to the windmill people.
Oh,
wind turbine below Nantucket. This area, it's all on fishing ground, and it's whales ground too. Right. Well, but the environmental people say nothing because they got paid off. They got paid off $3 million to do study. So they're not talking about it at all. Right. That's not right. That's the same organization that stopped fishermen from fishing, they're keeping their mouth shut about this. So, the fisherman's wife have this belief that they really want the industry out because they need the ocean for everything else. Yeah. So it's an uphill battle.
Interesting, right.
Really interesting. So before we get too close to the end, could you had told me a story about how St. Peter's this celebration began. Could you tell that story?
Yeah, I find out about this when the fisherman's wife were working with Regis College to create a play called Six Pair of Hands, and it was the story of the fisherman's wife. And Grace Favazza was one of the founders. She's still a member.
Founder of the Fisherman's Wives.
The Fisherman's Wife. And Fiesta as well. Yeah. She told the interviewer the story how she remembers Fiesta started. And she said that Mr. Peter Favazza, who was an Italian immigrant in Gloucester and had a gear store, commissioned the statue of St. Peter. In his hometown of Terracini, every year they would do a feast for St. Peter, and it's a patron of faith fishermen. So he commissioned the statue, and the statue came, and he had it in the store somewhere in the fort.
So down there.
Right across from Pavilion Beach, somewhere around there. And so one day he claims that as he went in the morning to open up the store, he looked at St. Peter and he saw this halo around his head. So he told his son, young Peter, to help him bring the statue near the window so he could be looking out at the ocean and protect the fishermen. His son, like any teenager, complained and complained and complained. But he finally helped his father and put the statue at St. Peter next to the window, looking at Pavilion Beach and the Gloucester Harbor. The day was over, they shut the lights and they went home. The next morning, Mr. Favazza goes to the store and he goes to look at St. Peter and he sees outside all the wives, all with candles and flowers, and we're doing the rosary.
Amazing.
Gracie remembers because she said she was a little girl and she went with her mother. And that day she was wearing no shoes because her family couldn't afford to buy her shoes. So Mr. Favazza looked at her and said, why should daughter have no shoes? And Grace's mother, very humble, said, I have 12 kids. I just can afford to buy some. So he put his hand in the pocket and gave her some money and said, go get some shoes. Well, funny enough, Grace married the young Peter who didn't want to bring St. Peter's into the window. And so she became Mr. Fama, the daughter-in-law.
Wow.
That's very funny.
And when they did it in the play, it was just unbelievable,
Yeah.
beautiful. And for many years, the Fiesta was, according to them, they would just do an altar outside in front of a house and they would say the prayers. There was none of this.
Down on the fort here.
Down the
Yeah.
fort. Then when World War II came, that's all they used to do was praying. And a lot of the Gloucester fishermen came back from the war and then they moved it to St. Peter Park and became this
And it became a much bigger event.
bigger event.
That is a beautiful story. I
Yeah,
love that.
it is. It's and that's so the fisherman's wife were involved all the time and everything.
Do you have any favorite food stories or just stories in general from Fiesta?
Well, for us, Fiesta, my family, we came to Gloucester in 1965. 2 years before we arrived in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where it was not a fishing town. And my father was very unhappy, and he was going to leave to go back to Sicily. But we had some friends in Gloucester who say, why don't you come by here before you leave? If you don't like, you can go home. And so we arrived here on June 15, and they were getting ready for Fiesta. We have a big fiesta in my hometown to the Blessed Mother, the patron of the fishermen. So this was something new, not new, but it fulfilled that emptiness that we felt from our hometown not being able to have a fiesta. So it's always been something. Fiestas like this, you have to understand that they are a celebration of our faith. And we as Catholic, we do believe that St. Peter is the protector of fishermen. So who would not support that? And then I've had the pleasure for the last 45 years to always do the reading at the Mass in Italian. And I remember at the beginning, there was this bishop, it was to call Bishop Greco. He came from Alexandria,
Virginia?
Not Virginia, somewhere in Alabama, Mississippi.
Oh, okay.
And
Really?
because he spoke Italian, and he would come, and the Mass would be all in Italian. And then he got old, and he came also, the last time he came, he was not, a bishop anymore. He was very old and retired, but he still came for the Fiesta.
Nice.
So,
Did he do the blessing?
and he did the blessing
yeah.
too. And then once he passed away, it was be more like the Boston Cardinal Medeiros, and then was Cardinal Law. And I understand Cardinal Cushion used to come a lot too during
Wow.
Fiesta before that.
Yeah.
So this for us is, like I said, it's a celebration of our faith and our culture, because being from any village in Sicily, once a year, at least once a year, there's a feast like this for the patron saint. And it's a great time.
It is.
It is.
Beautiful. And so what are you doing for the weekend now? I mean, you must be wall-to-wall plans here, right?
And
cooking.
the last few years we have taken it really easy. The kids are grown up, so we don't have to bring them to the carnival.
Yeah.
So we do come down and just sit with all the Italian people, listen to music. But tomorrow night we'll be going to the Gloucester House for the reception that the Fiesta Committee does. Friday, the very important piece is bringing St. Peter from St. Peter Club around and here at the stage. Saturday is just a leisure day, meet friends, go out to eat, whatever. And then Sunday is the big day,
Right.
the Mass, the procession,
Parade, yeah.
which we walk into, and then there's the greasy pole and the boat races. So we are at a good place right now. My grandchildren will be here. I'll have two of
Do
my
they love it now?
grandchildren that they live out of town, but they be coming down.
Yeah.
And last night, my other grandson, Paul, who lives in Gloucester, was with us at the Legion for the Mass and the procession.
That's
So,
awesome.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, buona fiesta, Angela.
thank
Yeah.
you.
We
buona
really
fiesta.
appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Anytime.
And we'd love to chat with you again. If people want to learn more about the Gloucester Fishermen's Wives Association, they can visit gfwa.org.
It's an old
And-
website, but it's a lot of information.
Right.
And they have a great cookbook. A
yeah.
fabulous.
Yes.
If you want to learn how to cook fish, the right way.
The Taste of Gloucester.
Yeah.
We did it. They did it. I wasn't even involved, but they did it.
You weren't?
They did it in '76 with the League of Women's Voters.
No, but the one with Susan Pollock, you were involved.
Yeah,
in that
I was.
one.
That
Yeah.
was that's the other big one. Stories and recipes.
Yeah, right.
But the one that is all the fish recipes is the Taste of Gloucester.
Yeah, that
is
is
the
a good
little
one.
one.
Right.
It's not even expensive, and there is tons of recipe for
Great
everything.
fish recipes in there.
You can still find that online too, and everywhere around here as well. So,
Yeah.
there you go. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much.